Mom left me in the car. My name is Sarah. I'm 24. Last summer, my mom asked me to meet her at the mall for what she called quality time. I showed up expecting forced conversation and maybe some passive-aggressive shopping advice about how my clothes never quite measured up to her standards. I did not expect to be left in a locked car in 90-degree heat while she got her nails done. I did not expect that a simple Saturday afternoon would become the moment I finally understood that my mother had never seen me as a person who deserved basic consideration. The text from her came on a Thursday morning. Just 3 words and an emoji. Mall Saturday? Red heart. The heart felt calculated, like she knew I had been pulling away and needed to sweeten the invitation. We hadn't spent time alone together in months, not since Easter dinner when she spent 2 hours explaining to my aunt why I was still single, as if I weren't sitting right there at the table with a fork in my hand and diminishing will to stay. I stared at that text for a long time before answering. Part of me wanted to say no, to protect the distance I had carefully built. But another part, the part that still remembered being 7 years old and desperate for her approval, typed back sure, what time, before I could stop myself. She responded immediately. Noon. Westfield Mall. We'll have lunch. 3 exclamation points. She only used exclamation points when she wanted something. Saturday arrived with the kind of heat that makes asphalt shimmer and car interiors feel like convection ovens within minutes. The weather app on my phone showed 92 degrees with a heat advisory warning people to stay hydrated and limit time outdoors. I dressed in a light cotton dress and sandals, pulled my hair into a ponytail, and drove to the mall with my windows down because my AC had been broken for 2 weeks and I couldn't afford to fix it yet. The Westfield Mall parking structure sprawled across 3 levels, a concrete maze that always smelled faintly of exhaust and hot rubber. I found my mom's silver sedan on level 2, parked near the Skybridge entrance. She was already inside, engine running, scrolling through her phone with her sunglasses pushed up on her head. When she saw me walking toward her car, she waved enthusiastically, the kind of wave you give to someone you haven't seen in years, not someone you texted 2 days ago. I slid into the passenger seat and immediately felt the blast of cold air from the vents. Her car was immaculate as always. Not a single receipt or coffee cup out of place. The air freshener hanging from her rearview mirror smelled like vanilla and something chemical trying to pass for lavender. She leaned over and gave me a one-armed hug, the kind where neither person really commits. You look tired, she said, before I even closed the door. Not hello or how are you? Just an immediate assessment of my appearance, delivered with the tone of someone pointing out a stain on a shirt. I'm fine, I said, pulling the seatbelt across my chest. Just working a lot. She made a small sound, half acknowledgement, half judgment, and put the car in reverse. We didn't talk much on the short drive around the parking structure. She commented on the heat, complained about the price of gas, mentioned that my cousin Jennifer had just gotten engaged to a dentist. Each topic landed like a stone tossed into still water, creating ripples she didn't bother to follow. We pulled into a spot near the main entrance, one of those spaces that people fight over on busy weekends. The car idled in park, AC still running at full blast. My mom pulled down her visor and checked her makeup in the small mirror, adjusting her lipstick with her pinky finger. So, she said, snapping the visor back up, I have a tiny favor to ask. The word tiny should have been my first warning. In my mother's vocabulary, tiny meant anything she didn't want to admit was inconvenient for someone else. I have an appointment in 15 minutes, she continued, not looking at me. Just a quick thing. Nails. I completely forgot about it when I texted you, but it's the only opening they had this month and you know how I feel about my manicurist. I did know. She had been seeing the same woman for 6 years and talked about her like she was a cardiac surgeon performing life-saving procedures rather than painting fingernails. Okay, I said slowly. Do you want to reschedule lunch? No. She waved her hand dismissively. It'll only take like 20 minutes, tops. I just need you to wait here and watch my purse. I don't like carrying it in there. Too much stuff, and you know how cramped those stations are. She gestured to her large leather bag sitting between us. It was the expensive kind, the kind she bought during sales and then mentioned the original price of whenever someone complimented it. Something felt off about the request, but I couldn't quite name what it was. We were parked in a public garage. The car was locked. Why did her purse need a personal guard? Can't you just lock it in the trunk? I asked. She gave me a look, the one that said I was being difficult about something simple. Sarah, it's 15 minutes. Just sit here and relax. Scroll through your phone. I'll be right back and then we'll get lunch, okay? Before I could respond, she grabbed her phone and keys, opened her door, and stepped out into the concrete heat. She walked around to my side, leaned down to my window, and smiled. Thank you, honey. I really appreciate this. Then she clicked her key fob. The car locks engaged with a heavy thunk. The engine shut off. The AC died immediately. I sat there in sudden silence, hand frozen halfway to the door handle, trying to process what had just happened. She had turned off the car. Remotely. With me inside it. Through the windshield, I watched her walk toward the mall entrance, heels clicking purposefully against the pavement. She didn't look back. Not once. For the first few minutes, I told myself this was fine. Annoying, sure. Weird, definitely. But not dangerous. 15 minutes in a car without AC on a hot day was uncomfortable, not life-threatening. People did it all the time. I could handle discomfort. I pulled out my phone and checked my messages. A text from my roommate about groceries. A notification from work about next week's schedule. I scrolled through social media without really seeing any of it, just moving my thumb in familiar patterns while sweat started to gather at my hairline. The temperature inside the car began to climb immediately. Without the AC running, the metal frame and glass windows turned the interior into a greenhouse. The sun streamed through the windshield, landing directly on my legs. I shifted in my seat, trying to find a position that didn't feel like sitting under a heat lamp. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I checked the time on my phone obsessively, watching the numbers change with the kind of focus usually reserved for waiting for medical test results. The heat wasn't just uncomfortable anymore. It was pressing against me, thick and inescapable. I tried the door handle. Locked. I pressed the unlock button on the door panel. Nothing. She had used the key fob to lock everything, including the manual controls. I was sealed inside. 15 minutes came and went. At the 20-minute mark, I started to feel genuinely uncomfortable. My dress was sticking to the leather seat. Sweat was running down my spine in slow rivulets. My mouth felt dry, and I realized I hadn't brought any water because I assumed we'd be going straight into the air-conditioned mall. I tried to open a window. The electronic controls didn't work without the car being on. I looked around for any manual override, any way to get air flow, but her car was newer, fully electronic. Everything required power. I picked up my phone to call her. No service. I was parked deep enough in the structure that the concrete walls killed my signal. I watched the bars flicker between 0 and 1, never quite connecting. 25 minutes. 30. The numbers on my phone screen blurred slightly. I blinked hard and rubbed my eyes. My head felt heavy, packed with cotton, like the air inside the car was using up all the oxygen and replacing it with something thinner. I looked around the parking structure. A few cars passed by, engines rumbling in the enclosed space. None of them parked near me. Through the windshield, I could see the mall entrance, a set of glass doors that led to climate control and functioning civilization. It looked very far away. At 35 minutes, I started banging on the window. Not frantically, not yet. Just steady, deliberate knocks with my palm against the glass. A couple walked past, maybe 20 feet away. The man glanced in my direction. I waved, pressed my hand against the window. He looked at me for a full second, then looked at his partner and kept walking. Maybe he thought I was just sitting in my car. Maybe he didn't understand what he was seeing. Maybe he did understand and decided it wasn't his problem. I hit the window harder. My palm stung. I didn't care. 40 minutes. The heat had moved from uncomfortable to concerning. I could feel my heart beating faster, working harder to pump blood through vessels that were trying to cool a body in an environment that wouldn't allow it. My breathing had gotten shallow. Deep breaths felt like inhaling from a hairdryer. I thought about breaking a window. I looked around the car for something heavy. The only solid object was her purse, the one I was supposedly guarding. I picked it up. It was heavy enough.